Willpower Nation, welcome back to another video. Okay, so what we're gonna be covering today is macros. I'm just gonna break this down for you very simple so you understand what they are, why they're calculated the way they're calculated, what they're even intended to do. We're gonna go over some pros, we're gonna go over some cons, we're gonna go over the best ways that you can be successful when doing macros, if you're doing them on your own or using a calculator online, whatever the case may be. There's a lot of things that you can avoid to save you a lot of time to be very successful. So I just want to give a breakdown of it because macros, they're a hyped thing right now. It's, everybody knows about them. It's like the keto diet or cleansing or whatever the case may be. So another important thing to talk about is why do they remain popular? So I'm going to get into all that. But the first thing to understand is like macros 101. So if you don't even know what macros are, I'm going to break it down for you like this. Macros stands for macronutrient, okay? Macronutrient, there are 3 of them. You have heard of them before. You've actually seen these on the back of food labels. Proteins, carbs, and fats. Those are your 3 primary macronutrients. Now, a lot of people don't know about the 4th. The 4th one is alcohol. So alcohol is actually its own macronutrient. I'll explain why in a little bit. So with macronutrients also comes micronutrients. Micronutrients are things like vitamins and minerals. What we're concerned about here is the macro side, the larger, right? Macro means larger, micro is smaller. So the macro side of things, the macro side of your food. So the main thing to understand, this is one of the most basic concepts, but it's so important to understand, is proteins, carbs, and fats, okay? Proteins and carbs have 4 calories per gram. Fat has 9 calories per gram. So you'll see on the back of your food labels calories and grams. Now, what's important to understand here? The important thing to understand is the gram aspect, okay? So per gram, fat yields more than double the calories of carbs and protein. That's why back in the day, people would talk about, well, go on a low-fat diet. Because calorically, if you went on a low-fat diet, you were going to eat a lot less calories. Now, protein and carbs, they're on the same playing field when it comes to macros, but they do 2 completely different things in the body. One, protein is basically for recovery, repair, and a lot of other functions that go on in your body. They get broken down into amino acids. Carbs are an energy source. They get broken down into glucose, and your body uses it for energy all throughout the body. That's how your brain functions. That's how your muscles move. That's how your lungs move. That's how your heart beats. Fat is also an energy source, but fat burns very slow, okay? Think of like a wet log and it on fire. It burns really slow versus a super dry log that you set on fire that burns really fast. That's like a carbohydrate. And then there's some other carbs, I won't get too far into it, but like high glycemic carbs, you've probably heard of that. That's like firewood, dry firewood, and then pouring gasoline on already burning firewood. That's how fast it's burning in your body. So just wanted to give you a general understanding. And alcohol is a tricky one. So alcohol is 7 calories per gram. So it sits right in between the carb and protein and the fat. Alcohol sits right there, and it is its own macro. So it's pretty interesting, but I'll do a whole nother video on alcohol, but that's just an understanding. So when you talk about macro dieting or macro tracking, basically what you're doing is this. You're using some form of a calculator, some formula that somebody created to say you need X amount of protein, X amount of carbs, X amount of fat for the day, okay? So if you eat this amount of protein, this amount of carbs, and this amount of fat for the day, then it's going to get you to a desired result, right? So some formulas will spit out macros that are supposed to help you lose weight. Some formulas will spit out macros that are supposed to help you gain muscle or gain weight. Some formulas will spit out macros that will help you maintain. So where does this even come from? The concept is within these formulas, they're using things like your height, your weight, your gender, your activity level to determine what these numerical values should be. Everybody's going to be different. Every formula, every calculator is going to spit some out a little bit different. We have our own formulas over at Willpower that we use. We do not use formulas from online or whatnot, but those will work too. But the key component to being successful at macros, that's where you got to be careful, and I'm going to get to that at the end. But I wanted you to have a general understanding. So why is this so desirable? Why the hype? Why the hype with macros? Why does everybody want to do it? Because think about your traditional diet, right? You get this diet. It tells you how many meals a day you're eating. Some of them tell you when you're eating it. And the thing about that is it will tell you the exact food. So you'll eat them over and over and over again, right? Now, when you think of that, you think of the word diet. I'm either on a diet or I'm off a diet. Because when you're on a diet, typically you're eating foods that you don't really want to eat. You're eating them for a desired result. But then when you go back to your lifestyle, you're not eating those foods anymore. You're eating a completely different style or different set of foods. So the beautiful thing about macros is macros doesn't tell you how many meals you're going to eat every day. Macros doesn't tell you what time you're going to eat. And macros doesn't tell you what food you're going to eat. As a matter of fact, it allows you to eat anything you want as long as they fit the macros, because everything has a numerical value to it, whether it's good food or whether it's bad food. The simple fact that it's food means that it has macros. So macros became such a big hype because you could technically eat whatever you want. You could go eat some donuts and then eat your chicken and then eat your rice and then have some Skittles. As long as it fit, then it worked. That's where the thing came along of if it fits your macros, you can eat it. So people would go out and eat burgers and fries and do this and do that. So I get it, I understand. So the hype is, wait a second. So let's revert back to the earlier in the video. So if you spit me out macros that are supposed to help me lose weight and I could eat whatever I want, this sounds a little too good to be true. Well, here's the thing. Did you guys see my Christmas tree turn on? That was pretty crazy. Anyway, totally got sidetracked. So they spit this out and they allow them to eat whatever they want, right? So then people went out and tried it, and guess what? It worked. Well, let me tell you why it worked. It worked because the numbers that were spit out kept you in a calorie deficit. If you've heard my videos before, I talk about deficit and surplus. If you're in a deficit, you're going to lose weight. If you're in a surplus, you're going to gain weight. Because if you're in a deficit, you're taking in less calories than your body needs. So that need, you're taking in less. So that need right there, see my Christmas tree just tripping out behind me? That is crazy. So anyway, that need, that's your body burning fat, okay? Now so you can understand why there's a hype behind macros, right? Because I mean, you could eat whatever you want when you want, as long as you track it and it stays within your macro numbers. So here's the downside when you think about it. A lot of people, you can do macros and you can lose weight, but you can also have a very unhealthy body. See what I'm saying? Because you can eat the bad foods and you can create a very toxic environment for your body, which would mean very poor internal health. Yet on the external, you're losing weight or you're gaining muscle or you're staying the same weight and eating all the bad foods that you ate before without gaining. So that's progress in your mind on the external, on the surface layer. But on the internal, where it really matters, you can be extremely unhealthy. So that's the con to macros. The pro is the flexibility. So I'm just going to go straight into the pros and then I'm going to give you a list of cons, okay? So the first pro to macros, it bridges the gap, like what I was talking about earlier. You got dieting and then you got your lifestyle, right? We all like to over here hanging out, eating pizza and drinking wine, and we may like sometimes the dieting and what it does for us, but it's that gray area in the middle that we can never figure out. That's essentially why we yo-yo diet. So macros bridged that gap because it allowed you to take both these worlds and put them into one, as long as it stayed within the realm of whatever your intended goal was: weight loss, weight gain, or stay the same. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's the pro, is it finally bridged that gap. Now the other pro is it's extremely flexible. So you don't have to get tired of bland foods or the same foods all the time. You can eat whatever you want. You can get different things at the grocery store. You can get things when you go out and eat. It's flexible. We like that. Why? Because that's our lifestyle is flexible. You know what I'm saying? So you see why that's a pro. The other thing is it can help curb cravings. Because usually the time when we go on a diet to obtain certain results, we usually give up certain things. And when we give things up, we tend to crave them. Macros allows you to feed into those cravings while you're actually getting results. The other good thing about macros is if they're done right, you can have enough versatility in the healthy foods that you eat that it can really help your gut and your digestive system, and it can keep it very sharp so you can continue to eat all these different versatile foods. Have you ever gone on a diet and you did it for so long that the moment you put something unorthodox or that wasn't the norm back into your diet, you had a really bad reaction to it? Macros solves that problem. The other thing is macros can help boost your metabolism. How and why? Because you have a wide variety of different foods in different amounts at different times of the day. Think about how your body breaks down food. You go from a little to a lot, a little to a lot, a little to a lot, right? The inconsistency there can help boost your metabolism because you're doing macros, you're never gonna overeat and you're never gonna undereat, right? Because there's some days where we undereat if we're not on any type of program, and undereating can cause a lowering of the metabolism. There are times where we overeat, and overeating can cause weight gain. We all know that. That puts us in a surplus. So macros keep us from undereating and overeating, but at the same time, it can boost our metabolism because we don't get our body on a timer. That's one downside to dieting is if you're on a food timer all the time, you don't eat when your body's actually hungry. You condition your body to eat at specific times of the day. And it's always in the same exact amount. So your body doesn't learn how to metabolize different amounts of foods because on a normal diet, the food's always the same volume. So macros allows you to be versatile in that sense. And macros are simple. It's easy, and to a lot of people, it's fun. It's kind of fun to pull the app out and track the things you're eating. It becomes like a game, right? So the other thing about macros is because you're not on such a strict regimen, right? There's so much flexibility that I just talked about. If done correctly with the right coaching and the right intention, you can allow yourself to tap into your intuition. So what does that even mean? Well, your intuition is what tells you when your body is hungry. It tells you what your body needs. Macros, micros, vitamins, minerals, carbs, fats, proteins in specific amounts based on things that you're doing, right? If you go run a lot or go do a workout versus not doing a workout versus going shopping or something, you can't tell me that your body doesn't require different amounts of energy to compensate for what you just did. Macros allows you to be intuitive in that sense if you're coached the right way. Because then there's no limitations to the amount of food you're eating at that one time or what macros you choose to eat at that point. You just have to stay in the relative range for the day. So I hope that makes sense. Now, let's go straight into the cons. The cons of macros: lack of education. That is number one. People come in like the beginning of this video, like I said, and they think that they can eat the unhealthy foods and they don't realize they are creating a very toxic, unhealthy internal environment, which causes health issues down the road, which is what you do not want, all for an external change on the scale. That is what essentially is selling the macros. So lack of education is number one. With proper coaching, that can be fixed. And like I said, macros forces you to focus on the external result, not the internal result, because you're driven by what that scale says. Okay, I'm eating these macros and I lost weight, so I can continue to do that. I'm eating these macros and I gained weight, so I can continue to do that without any regard for the quality for which you're eating the food, for the internal environment. See what I'm saying? The other con could be a poor calculation. Okay, so let's go back to the history of dieting. Losing weight is all about a calorie deficit. So we tend to think if we eat less, we'll lose more, which is the complete opposite. So people will manipulate the calculations of the macros. Remember the 3 numbers that I told you about? They'll manipulate that to be too low. So all that good stuff I talked about doesn't matter if the intake is too low, because like what I said earlier, your metabolism will actually go into shock. It will lower itself and it will actually start to conserve body fat because you're eating too little. See what I'm saying? The other con is macros can be hard to track. If it doesn't have a food label, or if you can't look it up in the macro library, it's very hard to track and you have to guess. So you have to get good over time at kind of guessing what some macros are because you don't know the macros of every single food that you eat. That is the con. Here's the other con. Macro tracking is not a lifestyle for the rest of your life. You cannot expect to do this until you are on your deathbed. Nobody is tracking macros when they're about to, go to the other side. Nobody's doing it. Nobody's going to do it later, okay? It may go and come. So just understand, just like most supplements on the market, they're not going to be here forever. Food is, okay? So you have to have intention when you're doing macros. What is the intention? Is it to learn something? Is it to learn about your body? Is it to achieve a certain result and learn how you got there and stick there? Most people just want to see the number change on the scale. And that could be the most detrimental thing that you could do to your health, okay? So we're already 15 minutes in. I'm only going to spend about 5-6 more minutes, and I'm going to give you guys the success tips for macro dieting. So whatever you do, if you decide to sign up on a macro program, or you go to a macro calculator on Google, you go to wherever and you're doing these macros, or maybe you hire a coach, I don't know. Here's what you need to know to be successful. I'm going to save you so much time right here, okay? Think about this. Quality over quantity. Always. Quality over quantity. Think about the foods. The majority of the foods that you eat should be of high quality, okay? Don't think the best bang for my buck, right? Like, for example, buying cheap rice cakes, or I don't know, buying extremely low calorie bread. Go for quality. Quality is king. Quality always wins. Why? Because quality will enhance your internal results. And the internal results, that's what gives you the healthy lifestyle way beyond when you're done tracking. That's what keeps you off the medications. That's what keeps your gut health very high. That's what keeps your liver detoxing. That's what keeps your heart healthy. That's what keeps your blood healthy. That's what keeps your joints healthy. That's what keeps the real fat off. And that's what keeps you happy. And that's what keeps you sharp. Quality over quantity. Don't go best bang for your buck. Go for the best quality the majority of the time. What are some quality tips? Know the dirty dozen. Know the clean 15. Any of you that are go-getters will go Google that when you stop watching this video. I'm not going to sit here and describe them to you. You can go do that on your own. Know the dirty dozen. Know the clean 15. That will all make sense. Have something like an 80-20 rule. 80% of what I'm eating is clean and of high quality, and 20% can be whatever I want. Give yourself a little bit of balance. Give yourself a little bit of flexibility, but don't go on and don't go off. Don't go 100%, I'm eating the most organic food from Whole Foods, but 2 days a week I'm eating shit. I'm going fast food, I'm going to the grocery store, I'm getting cereal, I'm getting donuts. Don't do that to yourself. You are creating a bad habit, because when you get tired of macro tracking, guess what you're gonna do? Exactly. So keep it in daily. Just give yourself some flexibility, and hey, if you don't feel like eating bad stuff, then don't eat it. But also don't force it. I've been there. Don't force it. Don't eat so healthy, so out of your lifestyle that you're giving yourself cheat days. What are cheat days? Go kill my internal environment days? Go make my body toxic? Go destroy my liver? Go destroy my gut? For what? See what I'm saying? You're not thinking down the road long enough. The internal health is everything. And here's one thing that I can tell people, but you don't realize it until you actually experience it. When you focus more on your internal health, the external is a byproduct. The external starts to reflect the internal. And you just start to live in a balanced homeostasis, body weight, body fat, health, energy, etc. So that's something to pay attention to. Make sure that your meal timing is intuitive. When you are hungry, don't get on a timer. Don't say, 11 o'clock, gotta eat. 1 o'clock, gotta eat. Unless you have a problem with eating, and that is remember, everything's with intention. If your issue is that you don't eat, then putting yourself on a timer can help create the habit, can shift your metabolism to eat instead of going a very long time without eating. But for the most part, don't automatically go put yourself on a timer unless that is your problem. Pay attention to digestion, okay? Again, that plays off the last one. There are days where I fast for 10 to 16 hours a day because there could be food in my body that it is still digesting. Digestion rates change all the time. Stress levels impact it. Training impacts it. Sleep impacts it. All these different things impact it. So there's no way that you can tell me that you can have the same eating schedule every day, but the stresses around your body, good or bad, remain the same every day. Not possible. Not going to happen. That's how you create a gap with your intuition and your logic. And that is what you don't want to do. That will lead you down the road of yo-yo dieting, which most of us have been down already. So pay attention to that. Another tip, don't waste your macros on supplements. When you start tracking macros, you're going to start realizing how many macros you're wasting with supplements. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Your body was designed to take in whole food. Supplements are exactly what they are called, a supplementation. So think about that. Supplements should be a convenient form that you can use when you need it. But I don't recommend becoming dependent on supplements, because I always tell people this: what would you do if that supplement disappeared tomorrow? And if you have an answer, great, you're golden, but most people don't. So don't waste all of it on supplements. Whole food will treat you better, but there are a lot of very good supplements out there that are very good when they are needed. Here's a very important one. Your body weight does not determine the success of your macro tracking. Your body weight does not determine that, because you need to understand this. You could be eating the same macros every day, and one day you pour a shit ton of salt on your food, not bad salt, just salt, and you work out really hard for a couple days. Your body weight is going to be up. Your body water is going to be up from the sodium. Your blood volume is going to be up from the training. So don't let your body weight be the tracker for the results. Measure, look at yourself, and more importantly, determine how you feel. Do I feel like I'm living a lifestyle? You would rather have slower progress and be closer to your actual lifestyle than have rapid progress and be so far away from your lifestyle that when you go back to your lifestyle, you just gain it all back. I know a lot of you have been there before. So those are my main points. If you can write those down, maybe rewind a little bit, that will save you years, time, which is the most valuable thing. Education, have intention. Why are you doing it? Not just for the scale, okay? So the last thing I'm going to say, guys, is we teach people about macros, but we do it the right way. So everything that I just described to you, that was my intention for coaching macros, because I knew the cons to macros and I wanted to prevent people from doing that. And I wanted to coach them the right way, coach them through education, give them a community, and give them a place to answer questions in real time so they can live the lifestyle, still get the results, and be able to make a transition and balance factor into their actual life. So we do coach people through macros. If any of you guys are interested, we actually have a 30-day macro program coming up for the month of January. Feel free, go to will-powered.com, will-powered.com. It's going to take you to our 30-day macro page. This is a program that is 1 month long. We also have follow-up programs after that, but this is a great way, kickstart 2019, not only with good macro tracking, but education and experience, because that's what we give you. Coaching, community, education, and experience. Those are the key fundamental factors to being extremely successful with macros. So if you guys have any questions, please comment below. Make sure to mention me in the comment so I can answer your question. Would really appreciate it. Bring people into the group. We're going to start making some changes in here so we get more people in, more interaction, and more of a community feel. I think I'm going to open up this wall so everybody can comment on it. But make sure you do that. Bring people in, mention them in the comment, throw us up a like, throw us up a comment here in this video. It helps us out a lot. Your feedback is everything. That's how we continuously improve these videos. And if you haven't signed up for our newsletter, please do, because I send this video in an email to you every Friday. You might be watching this in your email right now, so thank you. Other than that, I'm out of here, guys. We're already at 25 minutes. I got to shut this thing down. So again, head over to will-powered.com. Look into our 30-day challenge. Registration closes on December 30th. Get in. You will not be disappointed. I promise. All right, guys, see you next week.